The first day without water feels unreal. At first, people believe the problem might somehow reverse itself. Perhaps the oceans will return. Perhaps scientists will discover that the water has moved somewhere underground. But as the hours pass, the truth becomes clear. Earth is now a dry planet. Every ocean basin remains empty. Every riverbed is nothing but cracked soil and exposed stone. And the sky remains perfectly clear, not a single cloud anywhere on the planet. Without water vapor, the atmosphere has changed dramatically. Sunlight reaches the ground with brutal intensity during the day. Cities begin heating faster than ever before. In deserts, temperatures rise to unbearable levels. Meanwhile, the nights become freezing. Without oceans to store heat, the planet loses warmth rapidly once the sun disappears. The temperature swings between extreme heat and deep cold. But for humanity, the most urgent threat is much simpler. Thirst. The human body can survive weeks without food. But without water, survival is measured in days. Within the first 24 hours, people begin desperately searching for any remaining source of liquid. Refrigerators are opened again and again. Pipes are checked. Old bottles are shaken in hope that a few drops might remain. There are none. Every drop of free water on Earth vanished. Even ice has disappeared. Glaciers that once covered Greenland and Antarctica are gone. The polar regions are now vast, dry landscapes of exposed rock. For the first time in human history, the South Pole is not surrounded by ice. It is surrounded by emptiness. Meanwhile, something horrifying begins happening across the exposed ocean floors. Marine life that survived the initial shock cannot survive the environment. Fish lie motionless across endless seabeds. Whales that once ruled the oceans now rest helplessly in enormous trenches. Within hours, decomposition begins. The smell spreads across continents. Billions of tons of organic material begin decaying under the open sky. But even this is only a temporary phase, because without water, bacteria and microorganisms struggle to survive as well. Soon the decay slows, leaving enormous fields of lifeless bodies across the planet. The oceans, once the center of life on Earth, become silent deserts. Meanwhile, humanity's attention turns toward the atmosphere. Scientists realize something terrifying. Water was not just important for drinking. It was essential for the air itself. The atmosphere once contained large amounts of water vapor, which helped regulate temperature and support weather systems. Now that vapor is gone. Rain is impossible. Storms disappear. Cloud formation no longer exists. Earth's climate system collapses almost instantly. But the biggest danger comes from another place entirely. Plants. Almost every plant on Earth depends on water stored in soil. Without groundwater, trees begin dying within hours. Leaves wilt. Grass turns brittle. Crops fail immediately. Farmers across the world watch entire harvests collapse in a single day. Within 2 days, forests begin turning brown. Within a week, massive areas of vegetation die completely. The planet's green surface fades rapidly. Photosynthesis slows dramatically as plants lose the water needed to maintain cellular function. And as plants die, oxygen production decreases. The Earth's entire life support system begins failing. But humanity is still alive. For now, the water inside human bodies has not vanished. Yet people begin losing it quickly through breathing, sweating, and natural biological processes. Without external water to replace it, dehydration begins spreading everywhere. The first symptoms appear within a day. Dry mouths, headaches, dizziness, weakness. Hospitals are quickly overwhelmed. Doctors understand what is happening, but they cannot stop it. There is no treatment, no fluid to give patients. Within 2 days, millions of people begin collapsing. By the third day, the crisis becomes global. Entire cities grow quiet as people become too weak to move. Governments attempt desperate solutions. Scientists search for ways to extract water from unexpected sources. Some propose capturing moisture from the air, but the atmosphere is now extremely dry. Without oceans, there is almost no humidity left. Others attempt chemical reactions to generate water artificially. But these reactions require hydrogen and oxygen in controlled conditions, and they produce only tiny amounts compared to what humanity needs. Meanwhile, the planet itself continues transforming. Without oceans pressing against continents, the weight distribution of Earth changes. Ocean basins once held enormous mass. Now they are empty. Tectonic stress shifts across the crust. Earthquakes increase dramatically. Volcanoes erupt along exposed underwater ridges that had been hidden beneath the sea for millions of years. Entire mountain ranges appear along the ocean floor. Gigantic trenches stretch across continents. Humanity is witnessing the true shape of the planet for the first time. But few people are left with the strength to study it. As dehydration spreads, survival becomes nearly impossible. The human body loses the ability to regulate temperature. Blood thickens, organs begin shutting down, and by the fourth day, most of humanity is gone. But the planet remains. Earth continues orbiting the sun. The winds sweep across the empty ocean basins. Dust storms travel thousands of kilometers through dry valleys that were once underwater. Without water, the planet begins resembling something else entirely. Mars, a dry world with vast canyons and empty basins where oceans once existed. Life that once thrived everywhere becomes rare. Only a few microorganisms survive in deep underground environments where tiny pockets of moisture remain trapped in rock. But the surface of the Earth becomes silent. Cities crumble slowly under extreme temperatures. Plants turn to dust. Animals disappear. The oceans remain empty forever. And somewhere in the quiet deserts that once held the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, the exposed seabed stretches to the horizon, a reminder of what the planet once had. Because water was never just another substance. It was the foundation of every ecosystem, every climate system, and every living organism on Earth. Without it, the blue planet becomes something entirely different. A world of stone and dust. A world where life once existed, but can no longer survive. The rain eventually stops, not because the planet is saved, but because there is nothing left to flood. Years after the first storms began, the sky finally clears. The endless gray clouds break apart, revealing a sun that many people have not seen clearly in a long time. Below that sunlight lies a world that no longer resembles Earth as it once was. There are no continents, no coastlines, no mountains rising above the horizon, only water, an endless, restless ocean stretching across the entire surface of the planet. The last pieces of land disappeared years earlier. Even the tallest peaks were eventually swallowed as the water level continued rising. What remains of humanity now floats. Scattered across the global ocean are thousands of artificial islands, enormous floating structures built during the final years before the continents vanished. Some are massive engineering achievements, gigantic platforms made of steel and reinforced polymers, wide enough to hold entire communities. Solar panels cover their surfaces. Wind turbines spin slowly above them. Beneath the platforms, underwater structures support farms growing algae and other ocean-based food sources. These floating cities are humanity's strongest footholds in the New World, but they are rare. Most people never reach them. In the final years of rising water, billions tried to escape the drowning continents. Many built rafts, boats, and makeshift vessels from anything that could float. Wood, plastic, pieces of collapsed buildings, shipping containers. For a short time, the oceans were filled with desperate flotillas of people drifting without clear direction. But the open ocean is not forgiving. Storms swept across the planet with terrifying power once the continents disappeared. Without land to break the wind, waves traveled freely across thousands of kilometers. Walls of water rose higher than buildings. Entire floating villages vanished in a single night. Only the strongest vessels survived. The well-designed platforms, the converted cargo ships, the rare communities that had planned carefully. Now, decades later, the human population is only a fraction of what it once was. But civilization has not vanished. It has transformed. The floating cities move slowly with the ocean currents. Some remain anchored in stable regions where storms are less violent. Others drift gradually across the planet, carried by the enormous circulations of the global ocean. From space, these cities appear like tiny clusters of lights scattered across the blue planet. At night, they glow softly against the dark water. Each one is a fragile pocket of human life. Life in the ocean world is very different from life on land. Every resource must be carefully managed. Food comes primarily from the sea. Fishing is constant. Enormous nets harvest schools of fish that still roam the deep oceans. But even fishing is dangerous. With no land anywhere, storms can appear with little warning. Survivors have learned to read the sky carefully, watching subtle changes in wind and cloud patterns. Floating farms provide another source of food. Engineers develop systems that grow algae and seaweed in large underwater fields suspended beneath the platforms. These plants grow quickly and require only sunlight and ocean nutrients. They become the foundation of the new global diet. Fresh water is created through desalination. Massive filtration systems remove salt from seawater, providing drinking water for the floating communities. Every drop is precious. Water is recycled endlessly through closed systems designed to waste nothing. Energy comes from the ocean itself. Solar panels spread across every available surface. Wind turbines capture the constant winds sweeping across the open sea. Some cities even use wave energy generators, converting the endless motion of the ocean into electricity. The new civilization runs on the power of water, wind, and sunlight. But life is not easy. Without land, the sense of stability that once defined human existence is gone. Everything moves. The cities sway gently with the waves. The horizon is always the same, water in every direction. For many survivors, the psychological change is profound. Humans evolved on land. Our minds expect solid ground beneath our feet, mountains on the horizon, forests, rivers, and fields. Now those things exist only in memory. Children born in the floating cities have never touched soil. They have never walked through forests. They have never seen deserts or mountains. For them, the ocean world is normal. Their playgrounds are floating decks and underwater observation domes. They learn to swim before they learn to walk. They grow up hearing stories about continents the way ancient people once heard stories about lost civilizations. To them, the old Earth sounds almost mythical. Cities stretching across land, highways filled with moving vehicles, forests filled with animals, entire landscapes rising above the sea. Many of them cannot fully imagine it, but the adults remember, and they preserve the memory carefully. Inside each floating city are archives, libraries filled with digital records of the old world, images of mountains, videos of forests, maps showing continents that no longer exist. Teachers show these records to children as part of their education, not to make them sad, but to remind them of where humanity came from. Meanwhile, the oceans themselves continue changing. With no continents blocking currents, the global ocean moves differently. Gigantic currents circle the planet freely. Storm systems travel thousands of kilometers without interruption. But the oceans also become richer with life. Without human industry on land, pollution disappears. Coral reefs begin growing again in the warm shallows around floating cities. Fish populations explode as ecosystems recover. The planet slowly finds a new balance. Earth becomes something rare in the universe, a true water world, and humanity becomes something new as well. A species that once dominated continents now survives on drifting islands. The floating cities connect through long-distance communication networks powered by satellites that still orbit above the planet. Occasionally, large exploration vessels travel between cities, carrying knowledge, technology, and people across the endless ocean. These voyages can take weeks, but they keep the scattered communities connected. And as generations pass, humanity slowly adapts to its new home. Engineers design even larger floating structures. Entire cities expand, linking platforms together to create enormous artificial archipelagos. What began as survival becomes the foundation of a new civilization. One that floats instead of standing on land. One that moves with the sea instead of resisting it. And somewhere, deep beneath the surface of the endless ocean, lie the drowned remains of the old world. Cities buried beneath kilometers of water, mountains hidden in darkness, the continents where humanity was born. The ocean world remembers none of it, but the floating cities above continue living. Proof that even when the planet changes completely, life finds a way to remain.